let me tell you about the ignorance of fear. It is the corrupting fire that brings no warmth, no solace, a conflagration of entropy. It is naught more than a state of void that feeds upon you as you draw from it. All you have is the ignorance that brings fear, holding the illumination that the candle tries to bring, while you wallow alone in the darkness, afraid of what you do not know or understand. Do not become addicted to that candle. Do not be fooled by the dancing flames. It is the ultimate illusion, the yoke placed around your neck for all time. True fear will keep you alive. The ignorance of fear will keep you from living. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Fluffenhammer. Roll the music!
Cheery one for today, Adam. Nice and upbeat this time round. Inspiring stuff.
Much like Robin Williams, I'm only happy when I'm miserable.
Oh God! I can see us getting. I can see us getting complaints about that.
No, by which I mean, have you ever watched any documentaries about Robin Williams when he was making films?
No.
It's actually really interesting because a lot of people said that when he was in the films where he was all upbeat and manic, the moment the camera stopped, he would shut down.
Ah, right. So just like,
he'd be really flat. But then they were doing 24-hour photo. If you've ever seen that one,
yeah, very.
Right. And apparently, the moment the cameras went off, he would just explode with manic energy.
I guess
so
that makes a lot of sense because it's like draining, pouring out your pint glass of energy and then filling it back up again, depending on what the movie was.
I do like the fact that he brought the inverse energy to 24-hour photo. Presumably the same thing in Insomnia. You ever seen that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome film.
So
Probably
good.
one of Robin Williams' best performances.
It's not as good as Bicentennial Man, though. Let's be honest. His best film.
Jesus.
So we had Andy on the show for a few minutes.
Andy, God.
I watched the final cut the other night, actually. It's just a film called The Final Cut.
Okay.
And it's one I'd never seen before, and it's he plays a character who goes into people's memories after they've died and edits together a snapshot of their lives for their funerals.
Right, okay.
And it's a really interesting film because there's like a crime story that happens in the background, but the majority of the film is what that does to a human being.
Yeah.
Seeing somebody's lives and then having to basically make them into lies in order to sell how good of a person they were at a funeral.
That's a great concept.
It's a really, really good film. It is dour.
Great
concept. It is really dour.
I absolutely love that as a concept. If that were like the blurb on the back of a science fiction book, I would read the shit out of that.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't quite hit the concept as a whole,
right?
But it is. I think it's worth a watch. I enjoyed it.
It's like got a slightly sort of Philip K. Dick air about it.
It's imagine if you will. What's his name? The guy who directed Seven? David Fincher. David Fincher adapted a K. Dick story. That's kind of what you get the feel of. But it's not as good as either of those things.
Right. I've got you. That's a shame because that sounds fantastic.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was a great film, but that's probably more to do with the fact of me getting into the concept and going, I want more of this.
Yeah, right, yeah. I just love all that toying with identity that certain science fiction concepts broach, and that really does it for me. I like that a lot.
Oh, by the way, I'm Adam. This is George, and we have Andy again.
Hello. Hi.
What? Right, 3 years in, 4 years in, we still haven't got this entire introduction thing down, have we? It's ridiculous.
At this point, I mean, I think it's just best to let it be what it is and just drop it in as and when. I'm sure there's a few episodes where we don't bother until like right near the end.
I know that there's one episode where we don't introduce ourselves until 15 minutes in, and we've already done the first topic that we talked about.
I've no doubt. I've absolutely no doubt. So what's been going on, guys? What have you been doing hobby-wise?
Andy, you've been doing some interesting stuff, so do you want to go first?
I've been cutting apart old Necron warrior legs and reposing and pinning them to make them look like they're actually walking instead of looking like they've been straddling a horse for hours on end.
Right.
It takes a long time. At least it takes a long time for me, as I'm not an expert at it. But I think it gives off a much better look to them, because I don't know anybody that looked at those bowed-legged Necron warriors and thought, oh, that's a really cool pose. And really thematic.
Yeah. The notion of having them sort of like shambling forward, not quite functioning correctly, I love that. It gives them like a zombie feel or an undead feel.
Yeah, which is what the new stuff is obviously going for a lot more.
Absolutely.
So I think doing this isn't too hard, though it takes a bit more work. If you do this, it'll make them blend in with your new Necron warriors if you're inclined to get them in the future.
Yeah.
Just gives them a bit more character, doesn't it? It makes them feel a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, I am going to be lazy, though, and not do all of them. But mainly the ones I'm not doing are the ones I've already glued to bases. And they've got demon skulls for faces anyway, and orc skulls for faces anyway. So they're my special kill team ones. So they're already got enough personality as it is. It's fine.
I've already started noticing there's already like a lot of new Necron conversions cropping up around the internet. I saw one the other day where someone had taken Nighthaunt bits and had glued Necron bits to them to make these really kind of distressing, really phantasmal Necron warriors that looked amazing. They look good in shrouds.
Were they warriors or were they flayed ones? Because I know, Gruff, you put up earlier on the Fluffenhammer page one that was using the Executioner, the one that didn't come in the Soul Wars box, as a cover, and I've seen flayed ones use the Stalkers, the little ones that we thought were Ratskavens. There's a lot.
That post, Andy, was on the Instagram Roundup, which goes up on the website, the fluffenhammer.co.uk, every Wednesday.
Nice segue.
And it's scheduled right the way now until September the 22nd.
Awesome. Brilliant.
Which is why I keep forgetting to put them out on the groups and the Twitter on a Wednesday.
But it's cool, isn't it? You're actually starting to see a shift. People are actually buying and converting Necrons now, which is nice.
Yeah, it has been done before, but I think because there's a bit more revitalized energy for the line, there's a bit more going on. I saw someone using what they call the Canoptic Spiders. Is that what they're called?
Yeah, the Canoptic Spiders.
They used that as a base, and you got a Necron Lord and plobbed him on top for a Destroyer Lord, and I went, oh, that looks
very
great.
Nice. Yeah, very cool idea. I like that.
The thing that stopped me going too far into it is obviously not knowing what's going to be available, what the new units are going to be, because there's obviously new units. And like a Necron Lord's still a thing, or will they be supplanted by Overlords? What's going to be useful? Because I don't really want to spend a load of time kit bashing a fancy kit if it's not going to be of any use, if it's just going to be trash. So it is tricky.
That's the thing.
So I'm kind of sitting on my hands in some way, so just like breaking legs and straightening them, that's fine. Necron Warriors are clearly still a thing. That's fine.
Yep. I think you're going to be safe in that regard.
Yes.
I don't think they're going to scrap the Necron Warriors.
No, I think the biggest thing that people are assuming for Necron Warriors is going to be the box is probably, not guaranteed, probably going to be 10 Warriors instead of 12.
Yeah,
which
I
makes
think
sense.
That's probably likely as well.
Which I don't mind, because there's a lot more parts to them. Seemingly, there's a lot more personality.
I think there'll be more customization as well.
So it's like fair enough. 2 less models for more customization and more variety in parts. Okay, I don't mind that.
Fine. I can deal with that. Also, they're one of those units that can actually function at 10 models. There are some that can't, that you really need more to make them workable. But Necron Warriors are pretty sturdy things, aren't they?
I don't know. I've heard that at least competitive wise, the main meta was the Necrons don't play too well. Mainly, I think, because they don't have any anti-tank stuff, or very good anti-tank stuff.
Right.
And if they do have
Which is
anti-tanks,
bizarre, isn't it?
It's mad. The anti-tank stuff you do have is super expensive.
Oh, that's really bizarre, because they should be the anti-tank army.
Yeah, I think they've got a lot of...
Actually, no.
With their Gorse
No.
weaponry, I mean, that's what it's designed to
Yeah.
do. It's designed to strip away layers of armor. That's what they used to be, once upon a time.
But if you think about what the Necrons were created to do when they became the Necrons rather than the Necrontyr, they were there to kill Cork and God.
Yeah, that's true.
You know,
But
a
I mean,
Rhino coming over
in
the...
like technical terms, when they
Yeah,
the Gorse
yeah.
weaponry, when that was introduced, its whole shtick was that armor was no defense against it.
Yeah, because it broke everything down to the
Right.
component atoms, didn't it?
You could, when they were originally released, way back when, your average Necron warrior with its Gorse rifle, a unit of them could take down a tank, which was a big deal at the time.
Jesus,
You know,
that's crazy.
it was a big deal at the time. Not so much now. Not so much now.
No.
Well, not so much in 8th. I think 9th is going to
Redress
show
that.
some very interesting things when it comes to vehicles.
And monstrous
vehicles are going to get
creatures.
their own rules again.
Yeah, and monstrous creatures apparently as well have gotten a
Yeah.
real shot in the arm, which is also necessary because, like, greater demons, demon primarchs die way too easily.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Way too easily.
Well, I mean, you got something like a Bloodthirster coming onto the board. It should be everybody fears the Bloodthirster. It shouldn't be everyone shoots the Bloodthirster, it dies, then carry on to the next target.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. But have you seen, just as a segue, have you seen the demon rules from Engine Wars?
I haven't.
Yeah, a massive surprise. I thought the Engine Wars.
Before you continue, George, I just want to point out I fucking love the name Engine Wars.
It's good, isn't it? Yeah.
I just adore it.
But I thought it was going to be just AdMech and Chaos Titans. Yeah, that's what Chaos Knights rather. That's what I thought. But no, there's a whole set of rules in there for demons. Greater demons. You can upgrade greater demons to exalted greater demons, apparently, which are much bigger, much nastier, much tougher greater demons that have a whole host of special rules you can select for them and abilities and stuff like that. Just makes them a bit nastier, a bit tougher, which greater demons should be.
Yeah, definitely.
They should be some of the nastiest units in the game. I mean, do you remember, like, way back when, like in Second Ed, Bloodthirsters could kill an army on their own?
Oh, yeah.
They were mad.
Oh, yes.
Bloodthirsters were mad back then. I mean, you take it even further back, the ROC days. In the Realms of Chaos days, Bloodthirsters carried axes of corn, right? And axes of corn had another Bloodthirster inside of it that could come out and act as another Bloodthirster alongside the Bloodthirster carrying the axe.
Yep.
Madness.
Do you remember the whips?
I remember the whips, yeah. I remember them very well.
The whips that held the 1,000 souls of 1,000 flayed people?
Yeah. Madness. There was a time when the Bloodthirster was the most feared thing in 40k and in Warhammer, for that matter.
Oh, yeah.
Not
so
much anymore.
No, it's weird, isn't it, how there's a sliding scale that's taken place where you've got these great big monsters. I mean, the 4 greater demons should be, still to this day, the be-all and end-all. The moment they get onto the battlefield.
Right.
But they've become almost nonchalant now.
That is an issue, isn't it?
And also these.
Yeah.
Which is a bit of a thing. I mean, it's the same in AOS. I mean, obviously a Bloodthirster or a Great Unclean One, a Keeper of Secrets, or...
They're pretty tough. I mean, the Keeper of Secrets is an absolute monster. Actually, if you don't take into account the nerfs that they introduced, the Keeper of Secrets can be an absolute beast.
Mm-hmm.
Is the idea behind it to make it so that people can bring them onto the field more frequently? So that it's not like you're not pointing them out and you're not going, okay,
that's pretty much it.
We can't use this illegally now for
that's exactly it.
Which makes sense. It's a shame though.
Yeah, it does make sense. It's so that you can actually legitimately include them in your army. Because there was a time when they were kind of win buttons,
Yeah.
They were. It's like the Carnifex. We discussed the Carnifex last time round. It's a similar thing. You put your Carnifex
Its name
down.
is a Screamer Killer, and I refuse to call it by any other name.
The Screamer Killer, not the Carnifex, yeah?
Yes. God, I'm old.
I mean, they're very different things now, aren't they? They're much more mutable than they used to be. Like, you've got different species and subspecies of Carnifex now. which is kind of
Well,
fun.
one of the things I loved about that last Tyranid Codex was the fact that they brought back the Screamer Killer.
Yeah, you can actually make one, can't you?
Yeah, he's in there.
Which is fun. It's
the
got
best thing in the world.
It's got bioplasma like the original one does. It's got the 4 scythe arms and everything.
Oh, that's
yeah,
cool.
it's fun.
That's good.
That made me very, very
I'm
happy.
guessing that was more for like you make this for a conversion, right? Or was there a model to go with it?
I mean,
it's in the options,
the
isn't
Carnifex
it?
box.
Okay.
Yeah, so
and
it's like
it's just a
to
way
make-
of building it.
Yeah, to make a Screamer Killer, you just take your basic Carnifex and then you apply certain biomorphs to it. So it's got the bioplasma, it's got the scythe arms, and it's basically that's it. You've got a Carnifex, a classic Screamer Killer Carnifex.
It doesn't look the same though, does it?
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It definitely does not look the same. No.
It's one of the weird things about the Tyranids. Like, they're just so uniform now, and it still to this day baffles my head.
Which I get. I mean, I get why they've done that. Because, I mean, when they did that design shift, when they become basically what they are now, there were loads of notes introduced as to how they redesigned the range. And I get the logic behind it completely. They wanted them to look like they were evolved from base elements, so there's a base Tyranid form. All Tyranids have 6 legs. Sometimes those legs are evolved into wings or into scythe arms or hooves or whatever. Or they're fused together to become like a snake tail in the case of the Trigon or the Ravener or whatever. And I do like that. There is this kind of continuity through the range that works with the background really, really well. Part of the problem is that they do tend to look a little samey.
Yeah.
There is I imagine that your swarms of Tyranids can get difficult to paint. They can get arduous to paint after a while.
Yeah, because it's the same 3 or 4 colours again and again and again and again throughout the entire range, which is looking quite similar.
It's
a shame as well, because the Tyranids are one of those, as much as they started life as being a knockoff of the Aliens films.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, they're one of the big classic Games Workshop creations. And I always find it weird that they're never given front and centre.
Yeah, because they are one of the biggest threats, aren't they? Technically speaking, they are.
Well, even from like an outside the narrative point of view, from an advertisement or a constructive point of view, they are still a front and centre creation, but they never get the spotlight. Yeah. I find that really weird.
I think the last time they got like the front and center spotlight was probably in Second Ed when they were actually created as a coherent force, as opposed to these bits and pieces of Gene Stealers over here and Tyranid warriors over here and so on and so forth. That was the last time they were a real threat.
The last time they got full blown front and center was the update to Titanicus, which was I'm trying to remember what it was called now. Do you remember the one that had the Imperiata? The Mega Gargant?
The Epic system.
Yeah.
It was called.
That was Titanicus, wasn't it?
It was Titanicus, that one, yeah.
Yeah. There was I was going to say a DLC. That's not the right word. No. There was a supplement that came for that. I think it was Hive War, it was called. And around that year, so that's 97 to 98 or so, the Tyranid got a massive push.
Yeah, I remember.
And they got another one about 2004 with a new codex, and they redid a lot of the line. And since then, they've just kind of like middled around in the background. They've dwindled a bit, haven't they? Yeah.
Like, interest has dwindled a little bit, which is a shame. I mean, part of the problem, of course, is where you also got the Gene Stealer Cult Codex, which has kind of supplanted them a little bit, And I can see why, because I mean, from my own, just from my own perspective, I just find the Gene Stealer cults more interesting than the Tyranids.
Yeah.
Because they have that human element, they have that ideological element, that narrative element. But
still no limousines.
No limousines, no. They've got those big like mining trucks now.
Oh, they are so cool.
Which are fun. I like those.
Yeah. I love the Gene Stealer cults.
Me too.
I really do.
Rereading the Codex at the moment, it's a stunner. I mean,
really
the
was.
new one, the 8th Ed Gene Stealer Cult Codex, stone cold stunner.
Yeah.
Some lovely units in it as well, just for narrative purposes, like the Biophagus and the guy who genetically manipulates the Tyranids and the Gene Stealers to make them into other things and that kind of stuff. I love that. I love that stuff.
Oh God, yeah.
The sharpshooter guy, whatever he's called. I love him.
Oh, the gunslinger.
Yeah, love him. Love him to bits.
There was a wonderful little story that came out about him, and it's so good. So, George, what have you been up to this
I've
last week?
actually, because I'm sort of preparing for 9th Ed, I've been having a look through some of the ranges and models and things that I haven't finished, which is a lot. And I found, which I began back in, remember when there was the updated Dark Eldar Codex back in 5th Ed? When they completely redesigned them from what they used to be. I mean, like, completely redesigned them to make them more interesting, give them more of like a body horror element. Yeah. I at that time I started a homunculus coven called the Tattered Veil, and I've got a couple of units of Rax, I've got some Grotesques, I've got some Homunculi, and they're all converted. What I did was I just bought loads of box sets and just started cutting and pasting bits together, because you can do that with the Homunculi, And I found some of them out, and I think I'm looking at them and thinking, you know what, 9th Ed is going to have a Xenos emphasis. I could really go for a homunculi coven, and I think that may be what I'm going to do, because I like, not only do I love the theme and flavour of the homunculi covens, as fans of my channel will know, I put up a video about the homunculi covens and how much I love them. I like what they represent in the hobby, the fact that you can just go wild, you can just let the darkest elements of your imagination go nuts, and just create the most hideous, mutilated abominations imaginable.
Abomination.
Absolutely. It's the name of the game at the moment.
That's awesome, man. So are you considering that 9th Ed might be a big time to get some gaming in?
I'd love to. I mean, it's time allowing. That's the problem. And also circumstances allowing, with stuff that's going on at the moment. It might be tricky.
But
what the Let's Players on YouTube are calling the Backstreet Boys reunion tour.
I remember you saying last week.
I don't want any tickets for that. Let's put it that way.
No. I was trying to remember the name of the boy band from the Josie and the Pussycats movie, and it didn't come to us. Really annoyed by that fact. But I do have the song "Backdoor Lover" now in my head. So
right.
Honestly, Josie and the Pussycats movie, fantastic film. Everyone should watch it.
All right, odd segue there.
It's just, you mentioned boy bands, and that's it. That's just sent me off to.
I like it. But I mean, that's basically it. I would really love the time to really make a dedicated go of this homunculus coven.
Yeah.
And also just reading as well. I mean, I put it up on the Fluffenhammer. I read a short story by Chris Wright, who wrote The Lords of Silence, which is a very fine book, called Child of Chaos. And this short story, it's a first-person account of the background of none other than Erebus, Dark Apostle of the Wordbearers, from his from his days as a human being on Colchis right up to the latter days of the heresy. It's really good. It's really good. Gives you an insight into the guy about what he's actually about.
Does it explain why he's a terrible, terrible person?
Kind of, yeah. Okay. It kind of does. Don't get me wrong, he's a terrible person to begin with. He is just a bad man, and there's no getting away from that.
Yeah.
But it kind of gives you some insight as to why.
Okay.
Which I like. I've got to say, I really, really like. From his own perspective, the only way I can describe it, from his own perspective, what he is doing is playing a role. He knows that the metaphysics of the 40k universe responds to theatricality. It responds to narrative and to mythology. So he has cast himself in the role of the bad guy. And that's the part that he's playing, because he knows that it draws the eye of the gods and that it stirs the warp, yeah?
What? Okay.
It's very interesting.
Did you say it's a short story, or is it a full story?
No, it's a short story. It's about novella length, I'd say.
I was asking because I was wondering, will it be transferred to audio, or will it not be?
Could be.
No.
Could be.
I mean, it might end up in one of the
Yeah. That would
Have you seen the? I think those Audible bundles are fantastic. Yeah. The only downside is that they have a tendency of putting together ones I've already got.
Yeah.
Because they did loads of them, and they were £2 each. So I was like, yeah, I'll spend £2 on getting a half an hour story. Yeah, that'll do me nicely. Yeah.
But no, it's good.
Then,
I mean, it's very decent, you know. Chris Wright, he's a good writer.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that one. I'm always hungry for more Erebus being Erebus.
Me too. Erebus is a great bad guy.
As much as I hate him, I can't get enough of him.
He's a great bad guy, isn't he?
Does he get some kind of comeuppance just to wet Gruff's whistle even more?
If you read Betrayer, he
does. Okay.
But that's about it.
Damn. We still need another one. We need another book of him getting wrecked.
Unfortunately, you aren't going to get it, because he's basically the winner.
Yeah.
Everything he wants to happen happens in the Horus Heresy. Everything, you know. If you read some of the books that center on the word bearers, he's even well aware that Horus is a sacrificial entity, that he's going to die. Right. He knows. He's well aware. So is Lorgar. So is Lorgar. They know. And what they're trying to usher in is the 10,000 years of war, which will feed the Chaos powers. Yeah. And Horus has to die for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
They know. They are well aware.
But if I remember, the Alpha Legion didn't want that. I can't... Because they've got that stuff going on with the Cabal, which is...
Yeah.
Has that been answered yet? Is that still kind of floaty?
It's floaty. It's hard to say. Okay. What we do know, there may have been a schism in the Legion at one point where one lot went one way and one lot went another, but that may be like a double bluff. It may be a game of shadows. We don't know.
Oh, well,
we just don't know. They may be operating to try and burn Chaos out, as the Cabal wanted, you know, which ironically means that they've got to fight to make sure Chaos wins, you know, because that's kind of the way it works. Or over the 10,000 years, they may have lost themselves in their own machinations, so they might not understand anymore why they operate the way they operate and why it's all so mercurial and so complex and so on. It's hard to tell. Who knows with the bloody Alpha Legion? Nobody knows.
There needs to be, unless there's one guy alive who remembers the original plan, then everything, like you say, could have just gone to pot. Like
it could, yeah.
Easily,
I mean,
easily.
We don't even know if Alfarius and Amagon are still alive.
Don't we?
It's hard to tell. I mean, it's just hard to tell. And also, with the Alpha Legion, they're not like the Black Legion, you know, the Sons of Horus. When Horus died, they just went to hell.
Yeah.
They just fell apart. If Omegon or Alfarius died, the Alpha Legion would be right, all right, I'm fine, we'll just carry on, who cares, you know?
After all, I am Alfarius, and I will take control.
Absolutely. Hydra Dominatus, brothers, you know?
Yeah.
Hydra Dominatus.
I loved that, the story of the Alpha Legion guy getting in with the Raven Guard. Honestly, I really got into Corvus as a character with that.
Corvus is all right, isn't he? He's one of the more interesting
he's
loyalist
fascinating
primarchs.
in my eyes.
Yeah.
You know, he's very much an end justifies the means type character.
Doesn't get a lot of attention, though.
No, he really doesn't. And out of all of them, he's the one that's really grabbed my eye.
I think it's because he just comes across, at least visually, comes across as a lonely, sad emo boy, but he's not that.
Yeah.
There's that element.
No. I mean, the fact that basically this is a guy who got so beaten down by everything that happened to him in his Legion.
Right.
And he gets up, dusts himself off, and just goes, right, I'm just going to clone everybody.
Right. I mean, and they do, don't they?
And nobody turns around and says, this is a really, really bad idea. You shouldn't do this.
Yeah, right.
They all just go, well, Primarch said it, so it must be the right thing to do.
Yeah, that's the thing with the original Space Marine Legions, isn't it? They can't see the flaws in their own Primarchs.
No.
They absolutely can't. And it takes, for some of them, it takes catastrophe before they do start seeing the flaws. You know, like Abaddon and the Black Legion, obviously they've renounced the name of Horus completely now. Some sections of the Emperor's Children have renounced Fulgrim, you know, and so on and so forth. There's even schisms of the Word Bearers that don't follow Lorgar anymore.
Well, you just look at the Death Guard.
Yeah, all over the place. Yeah,
and how Typhus reviews Mortarion. Yeah, Typhus reviews Mortarion and somebody needs to be taken out back and kicked in the knackers a couple of times.
Right, yeah. And it's quite dramatic, isn't it? Like he takes a goodly portion of the Legion and says, "Oh, Mortarion, what the hell are you doing?" and buggers off, doesn't he?
Well, it's the interesting thing when it comes to Typhus. Typhus doesn't get angry at Mortarion.
No.
It's almost just this, I don't know, like son being disappointed in the parent.
It is, and they still work together occasionally, don't they? You know, when it's salient to Nurgle's whims, they will work together. It's just that Typhus, he preconceives Nurgle in a different way from Mortarion. Mortarion has collapsed into that sense of sentiment and despair that is part and parcel of Nurgle, whereas Typhus is more like the raging pandemic.
Yeah.
He believes that Nurgle waxes strong when mortals fear death, basically.
Yeah.
And that's what he is. That's what he represents. They're both right. They're both absolutely right. In fact, there's a great bit, I think it's in Lords of Silence. It may be in Lords of Silence or it may be in one of the other books, where Mortarion, in his Demon Primarch form, is considering Typhus. And he says to himself, "I know he's my wayward son, but I will not make the same mistakes with him that my father made with me. I will allow him to follow his own path."
Yeah.
And I love that. I mean,
that's really cool.
I think that's brilliant. I think that's absolutely amazing. It's Mortarion being a bit wiser than the Emperor. Yeah, it's kind of cool.
See, I took away from that Typhus was being mean to the poor little trumpeter from Nurgle, and I was like, oh, don't be mean to him.
Typhus is mean to everyone.
He's a bit curmudgeon.
Typhus is mean.
He's
mean to everyone.
He is, yeah.
Typhus is like Erebus.
Yeah,
he's a complete bastard.
Yeah.
When you read his in fact, those two are quite they're quite close. Erebus and Typhus.
Oh, they would be.
Yeah, they are. They're two of the figures who kickstart the heresy.
Yeah.
Because Typhus is already dedicated to Nurgle before he joins the Death Guard. Erebus is already dedicated to Chaos before the Wordbearers are formed. So, yeah, they're both. They're both really unpleasant people, ultimately.
So is Grulgor as well, if I remember. Is Grulgor still around?
Grulgor is still around, yes.
He
is. In his, he's a demon prince, so he's immortal now.
He's done all right
he's
for
immortal now. Ignatius Grulgor?
Yeah.
Well, I say he's alive. That's not entirely accurate.
Oh, is he the pandemic where he just kind of explodes?
That's right. He's
Yeah,
at the end of the last flight of the Eisenstein. He basically gets eaten alive by the Life Eater virus.
That's right.
Yeah.
And his essence is taken by Nurgle and reconfigured to be like the living embodiment of that virus. So he becomes the ultimate pandemic.
That's right. I remember in which one is it? It's got Horus on the front. It's where Horus gets his power. That's how the book ends. Horus gets his crazy emperor power.
It's the Vengeful Spirit.
Vengeful Spirit,
It's
and
the
they
book,
use
The Vengeful
Grulgor as basically a thing to clean the forest, because he just kind of opens the suit and the forest just dies around him.
That's it. That's Ignatius Grulgor in his Life Eater form. So he's basically immortal at that point. He is a demon prince. And he's the one, if you read The Buried Dagger, which is the one that explores how the Death Guard become the Plague Marines, he's the one who opens Typhus up to the Destroyer Plague.
Oh, okay.
And when I say he opens him up, I don't mean metaphorically. I mean he literally rips him open and pours the plague into him.
Well, when in doubt,
Yeah, right?
No such thing as overkill, just getting the job done.
Yeah, right. And it's this really perverse moment because they're in front of Mortarion, and Mortarion doesn't understand what's happening. He doesn't understand why Grulgor is killing Typhus. It looks like he's killing Typhus. He's ripping him open and his bowels are falling out. And Typhus starts to laugh. And it's like, that's grim. That's really unpleasant.
This isn't what I signed up for today.
No.
Hang on a second.
It's a good book, actually. The Buried Dagger is a really good book. You get a very in-depth look at what life on Barbarous was like.
All right.
And Mortarion's background. How he was the adopted son of the alien overlords of Barbarous. You get to see a lot of that, like a lot of how he functions in that culture.
Okay.
And how he first meets Typhus as well, where Typhus comes from. When he's Kalas Typhon. Just a mortal man, ostensibly.
You always mention a book that I end up having to read, and it's fills me with fear because I've got so much I need to get
There's
through
some good
right
stuff
now.
coming out of the Black Library at the moment. There is some good stuff. I mean, you brought it up earlier, Adam, but there's now that new label. There's the Warhammer Crime label.
Yeah. Well, before we get on to that, I've got something to say that I've been
what you've been
working
doing?
on.
Oh, yeah, what? Sorry, Adam. Yeah, what have you been up
That's
to?
all right. Sorry. It's because I've had a very strange week when it comes to building things. Because I went a little bit mad. I haven't finished any of these projects, but I've started a few. So I've got a Rogue Trader Archaeotech kill team stroke Inc. 28 team that I've been building, which is a Rogue Trader with a big floppy hat and lots of stolen tech all the way through his troop. So every single person, including people riding giant skulls on legs, just there. And I thought, you know what, I need another team. So I started making a Dark Mechanicum team to go up against them, you know. And I thought, you know what would be really good? Updating the Chaos Androids from Space Crusade. So using a mix of Necron bodies, the Bone Reaper heads, the Admech arms and hands, and Primaris Reaver parts, I've now got a full team of 10 Chaos Androids from Space Crusade.
Absolute brilliance. Blast from the
just
past.
I'm just waiting for some extra parts to turn up so I can finish them. And once they're finished, I'm going to make a Chaos Dreadnought
Oh, brilliant.
to go with them. And as me and Andy were talking about last night, I'm probably going to try and roll this out to be a full 40k team.
Cool.
Using something that me and you discussed, using the Nurgle Chaos Marine arm.
Of course, yes. Perfect. The rules, yeah?
Yeah, because it means you get to do all sorts of interesting things. I just need to change the wording on
Yeah.
the things a little bit, and boom.
You're well away. Are you going to use, if you're using the Nurgle rule sets, are you going to use the Death Guard Codex, or are you going to use the core Chaos Space Marine Codex?
I'm going to use the Death Guard Codex.
Good idea, I think. Good idea. Because there are actually rules in there that would fit really well, like the Pox Walkers. They would do pretty well for Chaos Androids, I think.
Well, if I... me and Andy were talking about this last night as well, and the idea I've got is to have Chaos Androids who are full-blown walking around Chaos Androids who are ready to shoot and kill, and then have ones who are like just torsos and heads.
Yeah,
and
fun.
then run them as Poxwalkers.
Fun. Love it.
These knackered little ones that they don't get decommissioned or anything because Chaos Androids.
Right.
But they're just left to fend for themselves.
Brilliant. Love it. Love it. When you say you're making a Chaos Dreadnought, do you mean like an old-fashioned Chaos Dreadnought?
Oh, yeah.
Like the Rogue Trader one?
No, the Space Crusade
Oh,
one.
the flat one. The one that's sort of leaning forward. That. Oh, how are you going to make it?
Oh,
I don't know. There's a couple of options open.
Yeah.
So what I could do is I could get that thing and then just do a load of mod work to it to bring it up to modern sensibilities. Or use the Titans from the new Epic system.
Oh, right.
And start working on that. And no matter what I do, it's going to be a lot of work.
It is.
To
make it look like the Space Crusade one is going to be tricky.
Yeah.
That's going to be difficult.
could you use is the Warhound from that range big enough to kind of work with, or is it too small?
It would be okay if I could bulk out the sides.
Right.
So there's ways and means of doing that.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of ideas. I just need to sit down at some point and do some working
Yeah,
out.
try to work out how you're going to put it together and everything.
And so the other thing that happened was I got the latest issue of my Immortal Realms subscription, which has finally started again.
Yay.
What's in this month's then, or this month's batch, I suppose?
So you got the Mausoleum.
Oh, part 2 is it of the Mausoleum?
Yeah, so got that, and you've got the some more little ghosties and a couple of more Stormcast with bows.
Okay.
Which kind
I'll
of
come back to the Stormcast.
ghosts? Are they the standard like chain rasps, Reapers, or
They were, he says, looking over.
is it the two models on horses?
Yes, it was the horses.
The bone Harrogens or something like that.
Yeah, the Harrow Ghost Spookykins.
Yeah, the lieutenant. I think of them as Nighthawk lieutenants,
Yeah.
but not as prevalent.
Do you remember in the late 90s there was a form of music called spookycore?
No.
No.
Right. It's bands like Cold Chamber and things like that. And I've now just decided that I'm going to name all of my Nighthaunt after members of Spooky Corps.
Why not? Go for it. I love it. So
But I'll come back to the Stormcast in a second. But the big thing that came at that was a box set of ghouls. So you get a start collecting ghoul set, right? Now, I like the Aberrant Archregent. I really like that model. Great. I like the Crypt Horrors and the all the courtiers and all that type of thing.
Love them.
The only thing I've never really liked about the Flesh Eater Courts is the actual ghouls themselves. There's something about that model that just doesn't work for me. So I opened up a little box and got out all of the flagellant stuff and other bits and bobs and ordered some things from Bitsbox, including Croot legs. And I've now got 36 ghouls with various states of humanity.
Brilliant. Oh, that's great.
I haven't painted any of these things yet.
So you've got 36 to paint up.
Oh God, yeah.
Fun. I mean, at least the ghouls are fairly forgiving, aren't they?
Yeah.
Because they're kind of dirty and organic anyway, so you can get away with dry brushing a lot of them, to be honest.
Well, what I'm going to do is paint them so white paint, was it Apothecary white underneath, then a pallid witch flesh over the top, then a contrast purple that's really washed down so that you get this really bruised type of skin, and then just go from there.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't take me that long, to be honest.
He says.
Yeah, right. I mean, the ghouls, the box set itself, I find for like conversions is brilliant.
Yeah, well, 36. Some of them wearing skirts.
Right,
I am really annoyed that I don't have the talent to sculpt a ball gown on any of them. That would have been so good if I just had one with the ball gown.
Like ruffs and ball gowns and stuff. Yeah, that'd be so much fun, wouldn't it?
It really would.
When they come around to re-releasing the Flesh Eater Courts, they so need to do that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, if you're going to really lean into it, I think a good way to do would be to just have parts. So it's not that they're ghouls wearing fancy-looking clothes or fancy-looking ragged clothes. It's just parts, so like ghoul, but with a really nice jacket on.
Yeah.
But off to one side, the jacket just becomes the skin.
Yeah, I'd love that. I'd love to see that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for me, I don't know about you guys, but the reinvention of the Flesh Eater Courts in AOS is one of the best things I think they've ever done.
It's super fun.
Absolutely.
I just wish they had better models to kind of go with the lore.
Yeah, the problem is, of course, that most of the range is actually from old Warhammer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The vast majority of the range is from old Warhammer. So, presumably, when it comes time to re-releasing them, hopefully there will be a full redone miniatures range for them.
That'd be nice, because like you said, the Archregent's such a good model. It's such a step up from everything else in it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a stunner, isn't it? Yeah. It's an absolute stone-cold stunner.
Even comparing him to the Ghoul King. Well. You don't have a Ghoul King, do you, Gruff? No. It's the Archregent, but not as good. Which is kind of a shame.
Yeah. I mean, this is how old some of the miniatures are. You know the Vargulf?
Oh, God.
The original one of those was metal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's Finecast now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's still the same one. It's like I don't want to make
the same model.
Yeah, I don't want to buy a Vargulf. I feel the need to make one because it just looks so bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
Poor little furry boy.
Yeah. But no, they are fun. Love the Flesh Eater Courts to bits.
So yeah, I've got too much going on.
It's that delusion thing, isn't it? I love that. The fact that they actually think that they are like nobles and courtiers and whatnot.
Yeah. Have either of you gone through Ghoul Slayer yet?
No.
The Gotrek book. Oh yeah.
Not yet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There's a sequence in there where you get to see what's happening to the ghouls and how the ghouls live through their eyes. And I don't know if you remember it, Andy, but the sequence where they go from the battlefield to the banquet to being on the ride in the space of a few minutes, and the Ghoul King just keeps like shaking his head going, oh, right, yes, I must have just been in remembering that I was on the battlefield when actually I'm at this banquet.
Yeah, it's like a really disjointed episode of a show. To convey the insanity. It's well conveyed in the audio and written word as well.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
I loved how they did it.
I liked how the
'Cause it-
the Ghoul King kept getting annoyed that everybody just kind of ran away from him screaming, even though he was like, "Hey, all you need to do is surrender to me," and they're just like, "Ah, why don't they get it?"
But it's the fact that he sees himself as this all-conquering king.
Yeah.
And you've got these wonderful moments of citizens, lay down your arms and give me your loyalty, pledge your allegiance, and I will protect. Come back.
Yeah, 'cause all they're seeing is
Right, yeah. They're just seeing like a giant monster with blood on its mouth, like, screeching and whatnot.
It's so good.
There's a very good short story. I can't remember what it's called, but I think it's in one of the Warhammer horror collections. I think it's in Maledictions, and it is based on a flesh eater court, and it's from the perspective of a cook that's in the kitchens of a royal castle, who believes himself to be just like the head cook of this kitchen.
Yeah.
And it's as the delusion starts to break, and he starts to see like the state of his kitchen, as he starts to see like the abattoir that it is. It's really good. It's very gruesome, very grim, very unpleasant.
I like the fact that the illusion can break.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Ghoulslayer does that really, really well.
Yeah, they tend to go like properly mad then, though, don't they? When they realise what they are.
Yeah.
They just lose their minds.
It wasn't that. It was more like depression set in. Like
Yeah.
horrific realization of what he was, and just like, no, I don't want this to be my life.
Oh, that just makes them sad. I love that.
Yeah.
It makes them really sad, doesn't it? It layers in this element of tragedy.
Yeah, they are fantastic. Yeah. They're one of my favourite things. Yeah, but much like the Seraphon, the model range needs a bit of a
push,
redo.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
Also, the Seraphon just need to be shaken.
Yeah.
Come on.
It's either redesign them or do away with them. You know, it's one of the it's one or the other.
Well, I wouldn't mind so much if it was just these are the Seraphon. They float around in big ships, in big temple ships around the realms, and then the ships land and they come out to attack. Fine. All right.
Yeah.
I'm happy with that. But it's the fact they keep bouncing between spawning pools and beings of light, and they're so unfocused.
They should do
the narrative.
what they did with most of the other armies, and that is AOS them, AOS the hell out of them, make them like the Lumineth as they are to the High Elves, make them like the Ideneth Deepkin. Just go nuts, give them something real, make them beings of light, just make them beings of transcendent light that are made of energy. You know, go for it.
Make them the Order Demons.
Yeah.
'Cause that's what they were trying to push them towards being. Go full tilt. Get into that idea. Yeah, I don't know. There's something about the Seraphon that really just gets on my...
They don't seem to have made the transition as well as some of the other classic armies.
I think they made the transition worse than anybody else.
Yeah.
I think they are literally the only one that hasn't been able to make that jump.
There is a red-headed stepchild quality to them, isn't there?
It's
Absolutely.
I think my issue was with them seems to because I haven't had a huge amount of interaction with them, but in the Silver Shard, which I'm sure Griff has said to go and read or listen to many a time because it's really good.
It's fantastic.
The problem with the Seraphon they have no personality. And that's the issue with them. Like, they seem to be autonomous robots, and that's not... That's hard to get behind.
Yeah.
Whilst in Pestilence, they are these creatures that are constantly reliving past glories. They drop down into the middle of this giant city worm, meet up with the Stormcast, and this guy is the head of the Seraphon is basically remembering all these times that he's died and lived and been brought back.
Okay.
And that's they form this alliance through these memories of death and rebirth.
Okie dokes.
And it's interesting, but that doesn't translate to what's on the tabletop in any way.
Doesn't, does it?
There's a massive disconnect when it comes to the Seraphon.
Yeah, it's a shame, because they could really go nuts with them. I mean, they could make them really interesting.
I mean, as a narrative force, they're absolutely... I love the idea of being star creatures, made
too.
entirely of starlight. Yeah, that's fantastic. In the same way that I love the slightly silly idea of these big floating flying temples flying around the realms that have entire ecosystems within them.
I kind of love
also
it.
Cool.
Yeah, I kind of love it.
But pick one.
Yeah, pick one and stick with it. Yeah.
Yeah. But I understand. Yeah, it takes a long, long time to completely redo a model range.
Yeah.
It's a 3 to 4 year start to finish. From design start to get it onto the shelves.
Yeah.
Totally understand why it's not something that's happened.
And I suppose they also suffer from being just not that popular. They were not one of the more popular armies from fantasy battles, so they were kind of given a bit of short shrift.
Yeah, it's one of those weird things where you get a Lizardman stroke Seraphon player, and they're in, absolutely in. And I've met every single person I've ever met who plays Lizardmen. They are into the Lizardmen.
Oh,
and
yeah,
that's brilliant. Yeah, that's absolutely fantastic. But I think you're absolutely right. I think that on a grand scheme, people just aren't interested in Dino people anymore.
Right.
Which is a massive shame because, once again, the Lizardmen are one of those GW creations that should be front and center because they've been there since the beginning.
Right,
for all intents and purposes.
I mean,
the Slan. Granted, they were all stupid frogmen.
They were, yeah.
Fucking Slan.
It's a bit of a disappointment when you realise that they were supposed to be the first sentient species in the galaxy, and then you look at them, and it's like, oh, okay.
This is what happens when you don't get off the couch every day.
Right, yeah.
I haven't really looked at the sort of 7th and 8th editions Warhammer just to see if it's still there, but did the Slan still cause the gate to collapse, or was it Teclis that did it now?
Oh, the polar gates.
Yeah.
It wasn't Teclis. Even I think you're safe on that regard. I think it was the Slan because there's actually a picture of it. In the one of the, I can't remember what edition it was, the Beasts of Chaos book from 8th or 9th, and there's a picture of the gates collapse, and you see all the chaos energy spilling out, and all the human tribes all mutating and turning into beastmen around it.
Oh, cool!
It's good. It's a really good piece of art, but I can't remember who is responsible.
Speaking of art, should we? Yeah, see what I did there. Shall we talk a little bit about the art that's dropped?
Yeah,
this last week?
yeah.
So the art of 40k, because
very interesting, an interesting turn it seems.
It's the tonality of this art so far has been gorgeous,
really good. Yeah,
this is heads and tails beyond. I mean, I'll stick my hand up and I will say I didn't really like the art of the last edition. Yeah, I mean, in my mind, 40k art looks like it did in 1996 when it's Wade England and Mark Gibbons.
Yeah.
And there's been something. I know that art is subjective, and this is entirely my opinion, but there's something that seemed quite bland and samey about the last edition's art. This, however, seems to have gone, you know what? A lot of people seem to be getting into the entire idea of the Ink 28 and the really grimdark parts of 40k. So let's lean into that a bit more. Because this stuff's gorgeous.
It is, and it's weird as well. That's what I like about it. They've, instead of just portraying a Space Marine as a Space Marine or this as that, they've gone for a really weird take on some of these entities, and it works really well. What is that fungoid thing with the guns?
Well, isn't that
know.
theorized new artillery for orcs? Or
What?
If it's new orcish artillery, that would be friggin' ace.
Yeah, I've got nothing against the Squiggoth, but I think I'd prefer this weird giant mushroom with guns.
I love it, I've got to say. I think it's spectacular. And also all of the weird spidery AdMech stuff, the transhumanist stuff. I love that. The John Blanche style stuff. More of that, please.
This is what I'm going to say. If you look at a lot of this art, it feels like John Blanche did the pencils for it, and then somebody else came in and did all the heavy lifting, so to speak.
I mean, you've also got your classic stuff as well. There's the big image of Abaddon and the Chaos Forces versus Robert Gilman and the Ultramarines and the Imperial Forces. Yeah. That's very nice, and I love the renditions of both of those characters.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, oh, God, look at that rebooting.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? Really great. Also, did you notice the picture? It looks like it's the Imperial Palace on Terra.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's not the Emperor portrayed.
No.
It's the Regent. It's Robert.
Yeah.
So what's going on there? What does that suggest?
I don't know, but I'm very interested.
Could we not,
Are we
like,
moving
Jodie-
into a new age?
Could we not think it's maybe Ultramar? Or maybe somewhere
Oh,
like
it could
that?
be. It could be Ultramar, yeah. It could, but it looks more Imperial Palace to me.
If you look at the flags, none of the flags are ultramarine.
That's
Yeah.
true, yeah.
Also, Ultramar's got more of like a sort of like an ancient Greece feeling in terms of its architecture. This looks like portrayals of Terra that we've seen thus far. I hope it is.
I do want to say that the flying servo skull does look like, because of the way it's placed, it looks like it's really high up and massive. Which, I know it isn't, but I love the idea that at some point we're going to get like a Titan-sized servo skull
where
flying
would
around.
the skull come from? Like some weird abhuman species that have grown massive.
No, they're just formed of
Yeah.
many servo skulls, so if you zoom in, it's just thousands of little servo skulls.
Just linked together, yeah.
I'll form the head. I'll also form the head.
Brilliant. No, it's beautiful. It really is. It's stunning. It looks, for me, it's got that same feeling of as the AOS art.
Yeah, that huge scale for a lot of it.
Yeah.
But one of the things I really wanted to talk about was the two final pictures on the community post. The one right at the bottom, which is just all of these weird little gribbly horrors. I mean, this sings to me. This is, in my mind, what 40k should always look like.
Yeah, me too. I love that stuff. I like the idea of there being entire civilizations of humanity out there that have been lobotomized, that have been like altered and transformed to fulfill their function. You know, I love that. And they've like kind of become degraded and broken down over time, so they're not entirely functional anymore. Love it. And that's what this art communicates to me.
Look at that baby riding the bolter. That's not right.
It's cool. It's really cool. More of it, please.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, this feels to me like that a lot of the feeling of this version of 40k is going to be like Rogue Trader. A lot of the sense of hopelessness that Rogue Trader pervade.
Yeah.
And also the sense of weird.
Yeah.
I mean, so to look at this alien picture, the stuff that we've got in here. I mean, what the hell is that lizard thing with the gimp suit and the gun head?
What is going on? I mean, it looks to me what they're doing is maybe teasing some stuff that may be coming in the future.
Well, like new species.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I mean, they did it with AOS. I don't see any reason why they can't do it with 40k.
If they use this poster and just went Blackstone Fortress, you could go, oh, okay, so these are like new expansions coming out for extra aliens to blob in there. I could believe that.
I've got a theory that Blackstone Fortress was used as a testing ground to see how people reacted to stuff.
That's exactly what I think. Yeah, that's exactly what I think.
Because there's rumours of a Renegade Guard book.
There is, and it's been very consistent from some of the bigger rumour mongers who are usually right.
Yeah. And if that's the case, I'm going to place a large bet that half of that book will be Beastmen.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. And again, if you look at...
very happy because I love 40k Beastmen.
If you're right about Blackstone Fortress being a testing ground, it would make a lot of sense because there's a lot of like Renegade Guard stuff in there.
There is, yeah. You know? But not just the Renegade Guard. I mean, you know, they've brought out the Amble, they've brought out the Zote. You know, it's testing to see if people are up for the idea of seeing these new stroke old things come back out. Because I will bet you that some of the pictures in this Xenos thing here, these are old concepts that are getting redone.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me either.
I mean, the thing at the bottom, is that not the Kachian horror?
Oh, it could be.
Yeah, with all the sideways teeth.
Yeah. Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, the sort of sphere-headed things with the long, grubbly tentacles. You know, I'm sure I have read that in a really old 40k book. Yeah, there's a lot going on here that kind of makes me think, come on, please. The universe is now in turmoil. Just throw out. I mean, one of the reasons I think this is a very likely idea is the one of the other things that we were going to talk about, the four sizes fits all style of gameplay. Yeah, if this is true, and well, say if it's true, it's here in black and white. The fact that you've got these small games that can lead up to giant games, then what's wrong with bringing out these tiny little codexes with only a few things? because they've already done it.
Right. So
Kill Team Rogue Trader game, right? That has 2 mini codexes in it. One for the Galapox Infected and one for the Rogue Traders army.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get those into 40k. And at the time, I didn't think anything of it. That's really cool. You've got a little mini codex, so you can run these things in your games.
Yeah.
But the more I think about it, with the way that this new 4 ways to play works, why not have combat patrol codexes?
It makes a lot of sense because it does look like they've been building towards this for a long time, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff been happening in the background that we haven't been aware of that's all starting to come together now.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. And that's great. If that's what 9th Ed is going to be, awesome.
Absolutely. And the rumours are that it's going to be a very Xenos strong edition.
Which is fair enough.
It's like, I'm in. I'm all in. I want to see... I want 40k to be weird.
Yeah, me too.
We've had... Well, I mean, me and Andy were talking about this the other day, that it feels like it's just been Space Marines versus Chaos for
a long time, yeah. Because obviously the whole thrust of 8th Ed was the end of Cadia, the attack on Vigilus, the Fenris stuff as well. It was all Chaos centric, wasn't it? It was pretty much all Chaos centric. So yeah, moving it away to something else makes a lot of sense. Like they did in AOS, they moved it to the undead, to Nagash's shenanigans, and that Nagash's shenanigans. That's a hard thing to say, but that
Nagashisms.
Yeah, Nagash shenanigans. Yeah, so it makes a lot of sense for them to be doing that in 40k and using the Necrons as the basis for that. Yeah, go for it. One of the lesser represented classically races. Yeah, go for it.
Idea. Right, okay. So we know the Silent King's coming back.
Oh, we do. Zarek. Yeah, we do.
Right. Now, we've kind of just been thinking that he's going to just reappear to lead his dynasties onwards. What if he's not? What if he's running?
Oh, fleeing from something.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And what happened in that flight is that he is bringing all of these Outer Rim aliens in.
That would be fun.
Didn't we talk
that
about
would
this
be a
last
lot of
podcast?
fun.
Did we?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay.
Either that or me and you've talked about this at some point.
I think me and you've discussed the fact that it'd be really cool that if he's running back from whatever the Tyranids were trying to get away from.
I'm sure we talked about this last podcast as well, but I could be wrong.
Well, I mean, it is something they're going to have to do with Zarek because he's been away for a long time. They're going to have to explain what he was doing and why he's chosen now to come back.
Well, we know that he's working with one of the dudes near the center to kind of make everybody nulns, so they're not having an impact on the warp, which is kind of interesting.
That is very fascinating, isn't it? Because that's going to draw the ire of a lot of races. Magnus is not going to be bloody happy about that.
Yeah, but it was going to be secret. But that what's his name? I can't remember his name, which is a pain. He's got the new model, Zaraz. I think it's Zaraz, isn't it?
Oh, Zeras the Illuminated.
He's wanting to push the process a little bit faster, and a lot of cryptex are like, no, don't do that. Everyone will notice. And he's like, phooey.
Slow it down. He just goes, I'll do it. Why not?
I'm smart, you stupid. I've got to do this fast for the king.
But yeah, I mean, ultimately, that's going to bring a lot of races and forces down on the Necrons. I mean, the Eldari are not going to be happy.
No one's going to be happy.
No.
Because if
the Eldari...
I'm going to be happy.
If there are no more Psychers, who's going to feed the throne? The Golden Throne?
Right. The Imperium, the existence of the Imperium is going to rely on this not happening.
Yeah. Because if the Emperor completely goes off, then the beacon goes completely at that
the
point.
Astronomicon. Yeah, it just withers away, doesn't it?
So everybody's going to be on the Necrons. Everyone.
Yeah, obviously the Chaos Forces,
The Tower will probably not care too much.
Yeah, the Tower probably not going to be that bothered.
Do you know what would be really good? If the Tau just accidentally become super embedded now into the universe. So I don't mean that in like a narrative way, but as in, everything's happening over here and the Tau just kind of get on with it. And then people just turn around and the Tau's like taking over half of the Secundus. oh God, how did that happen?
That would be amusing, wouldn't it? Especially given that, again, they're one of the races that are kind of given short shrift a lot of the time.
Yeah.
It would be amusing to see them become like a genuine threat.
Mm-hmm. That's I quite like that as an idea. There's loads of sort of like little hooks, isn't there, for humans turning to the Tau?
Yeah.
So I know that there's a Typhus Cain. I always call him Caiaphas.
Instead of Caiaphas.
Caiaphas, yeah. A Caiaphas Cain book that deals with humans that have turned to the greater good. Mm-hmm. And I've always found that really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, the potential for human worlds that are dominated or a part of the Tau collective. It's a great idea. I love that. I mean, and wouldn't it be wonderful if you can sort of explore that in fiction? It turns out the humans under the Tau Empire are a lot more happy than they are under the Imperium.
Well, they seem to be in the Cain book. All right.
Yeah.
That's. Although I did think the other night how good it would be to run an Imperial Guard army that were digger knobs. It's like, and that just brought up a whole load of ideas. I had to shut that thought down pretty quickly because I do not need to be doing that.
Love it.
But it would be so good, wouldn't it? It would be really, really good.
But I'm with you. I'm totally with you with the weirdness. I think they should really, when they come to re-release some of the armies in 9th Ed, they need to go nuts. They need to AOS it a little bit, yeah?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
So, like,
there.
when they come to re-release the Drukhari, go heavy on the homunculi covens, go for, like, living citadels made out of stitched-together bodies and crap like that.
Yeah.
Just go nuts with it, because that's what's fun. And, judging by the picture we've seen of the Necron armies thus far, that looks like exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, I think it is. But the question is, what can you do to the other races and the other armies? I mean, obviously, the Primaris have had tons.
Yeah,
they've had an entirely new range.
They could really do with just ignoring the Space Marines for a bit.
Oh, it won't happen, though, unfortunately.
I know it won't happen. I know it won't
should,
happen,
but yeah.
They could do with doing it. They really, really could. Even when other armies come into prominence, the Space Marines always have to have their equivalent. They could do with just letting that go for a while and focusing on something else.
I know the argument from the Space Marine players would be that they want to have the rest of the range as Primaris, which we've been getting slowly. Like, they've been begging for close combat units for ages for Primaris. Yeah. Now we're getting them. They've been begging for bikes forever. Now we're getting them. I still think there are other units that the Primaris probably need to have updated. Yeah, like scouts are the equivalent of them, and etc. etc.
Well, they're the Reavers.
Yeah.
The only thing I think the Primaris need, and the only thing I really want them to get, is now Terminators.
Terminator Primaris, God Almighty!
It's such a shame that not the obliterators? What are they called? The oppressors?
What are we talking about?
Are those the thing with the jump packs at the moment?
Yeah, the really bulky ones. They're the closest thing you get to Terminators for sheer size. Because the Terminators are such another... I'm doing this a lot today. It's such another iconic look.
Yeah.
That's very... I mean, that Terminator faceplate is something that everybody recognises.
Right.
No matter what army you play or what system that you play.
Because of games like Space Hulk, which has transgressed beyond Games Workshop culture, even people outside of the hobby recognise that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it'd be a shame to let that go.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the normal Space Marines are slowly being phased out, and it's going to take about 10 years.
But it'll happen won't it, eventually.
Of course it will. I mean, they're not doing any more normal Space Marine miniatures anymore.
No, I don't think so.
The rules are going to stay, but they'll gradually just drop
Legion
off.
of the Damned have gone, it seems, completely from the...
Yeah.
It does look like it, doesn't it?
That's a real shame. What I'd love to do, if I had a time machine... I'd like to go back in time, work with Games Workshop, and then start putting Primaris Legion of the Damned in like 1997. Just to mess with people.
And it's a shame. I mean, the Legion of the Damned are great. I mean, there is a problem with them in the sense that they kind of like... It's that whole thing of giving Space Marines everything, you know?
Yeah.
And they are almost like the Chaos cult for Imperial Space Marines, aren't they? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that is a little bit for me, you know? Space Marines should be defined by their lacks and their weaknesses in the same way as all the other armies are, you know?
Yeah. I agree.
There should not be an equivalent for everything every other race has in the Space Marines.
No. I mean, well, you say that. I want to see what a Tyranid-looking Space Marine army is going to be.
Well, I mean, the counter for that. I mean, there is the counter for that, isn't there? Because you've got the Tyranid hunters in the Ultramarines, yeah.
Oh yeah,
the Tyrannic War veterans, and the Death Watch. So you've got the counter for it. You see, that's the way it is all the way through. There's a counter for everything in the Space Marines, and it's slightly annoying.
Yeah. I mean, look at the Space Wolves. You've got anti-orc, which is why they've been Ragnar Blackmane has now been set up to be Thracker's foil.
Right.
Which I still don't understand.
It should have been Yarrick.
Where's Yarrick?
It should have been Yarrick. Mind you, as you said, he may be dead.
No, according to somebody who mentioned it on the last show on the YouTube channel, he is alive and well.
Is he?
How old
God
is he?
almighty. Rejuvenate treatments, presumably.
He's been pickled.
Oh, God. He's just floating around in a jar. Let me just...
Is this like
open.
Commissar Yarrick the 23rd? Are they just cloning him or something?
I'm going to admit I quite like the idea of him just being a head in a jar.
With the eye, obviously.
Oh, of course. Yeah, it's just an eye in a jar.
And the hat. He's got to have the hat.
Right, where are we at? Trio Metallic, Praise Millman. Liberty says... don't worry about Yarrick. He's apparently immortal or somehow is living a very long time, unheard of by mortal humans.
Okay.
There are many theories as to why he's still alive, but my favourite one, and the one I subscribe to, is that Yarrick has lived for so long because he is the I Am Legend of orcs. Because of his battles on Armageddon and fights with Thraka, he has turned into this mythic figure for the orcs, and everything the orcs believe eventually becomes real.
The orcs are keeping him alive.
Yarrick has literally become the legendary figure the orcs believe him to be. He is their bogeyman, the human who stood and survived Thraka, and he has become their monster in the dark. Yarrick will never die as long as there is an orc who respects him, secretly fears him, and really wants to fight him.
He's the Candyman.
That's great.
He's the Candyman.
He's literally the man who became the myth. That cheers you up.
It does.
That is... brilliant.
That has to be true. If that's not true, that will be a massive disappointment.
Yeah. God almighty, I want that to be true.
Liberty, I've spoken to you a couple of times now. At some point, we need to get you on the show.
Yeah, right. That's superb. That is superb. I love it to bits.
Whenever she drops something into the comments or on the Patreon, it's always very much worth a read.
Yeah, right.
I would like to have a discussion with you at some point.
Well, yeah, absolutely. All due deference. That was superb. All due deference, Brilliant stuff.
Should we move over to the crime box?
Yeah, so, I mean, you've got the new label. I mean, Warhammer Horror was really successful in terms of the content and whatnot, and it's still successful. Those
I hope it's not winding down.
That's my fear. That's my fear, because I think the Warhammer Horror stuff has been fantastically successful, particularly the short story collections. I think they are wonderful.
Yes.
Like I say, being immersed in the sort of independent small press writing community, I read a lot of horror collections. I mean a hell of a lot, and these are genuinely good. Mm-hmm. They're genuinely good. They're Maledictions and what's the other one? The
Wicked and the
Damned.
Wicked
and the Damned. All of this stuff is really, really good.
Oh yeah, it has been. I haven't read a bad one.
No, I haven't.
Have you tried the Colonel's? I can't want to call it the Colonel's monogram. Yeah, the Colonel's monogram.
What one's that?
It was in the second series of the novellas that they did.
Oh, I don't think I've read that one.
It's the only Warhammer horror that they did in that series.
Right.
I'm not going to spoil anything on it. It is good.
It's really good, yeah.
It is so freaking.
And when they said they were going to do Warhammer Horror, they're not
Victorian ghost story.
They're not kidding. It's like it is genuine horror stories set in the 40k universe or in the AOS realms, and they work really, really well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I still say that the first story from Wicked and the Damned
it's so good.
That is something that transcends
right.
Like the genre that it's in. It is a masterpiece in horror writing.
A brilliant piece of psychological horror, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a really good piece of psychological horror. I really enjoyed that one. I enjoyed listening to it as well when Doug Bradley read it.
Yeah, he's really good at it.
Yeah, well, it's Doug Bradley. He's reading Frankenstein at the moment, by the way, on his YouTube
It's so
channel.
good!
Yeah. He's a very good one. But yeah, I mean, the crime label, I mean, that is... It fits so well. It fits so
Absolutely.
well. I cannot wait to see, like, slightly hard-boiled Raymond Chandler-style crime, like noir crime stuff, set in the 40k universe, like on Necromunda.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great.
The problem is, it seems to be it's all going to be set on this one planet.
That bothers me.
Varangantua.
Not that bothered about that.
And that's I don't know. There's something here. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm really, really liking the sound of it.
Yep.
Because I mean, the books that have been announced sound right up my
Yeah,
street.
they sound really good.
But the fact it's all set on one planet,
Right. I mean, I would have liked to have seen it spread throughout the Imperium, like, crime investigations on a ship, maybe. You know.
Yeah.
That would have been fun. You could have explored like the paranoia that occurs on a very enclosed environment, like a ship or a space station or something.
Weirdly enough, you've jumped onto one of the things I wanted to see, and I think it would be really cool to do, which would be a ship in the warp and a whodunit.
Yeah,
that could be great.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Great fun. Yeah.
And of course, we all know who the character who should be the main character of that one. Inspector Sherlock Obi-Wan Clouseau.
Yeah.
Inquisitor.
My God.
Yes.
My God.
Bring him back. Get him a new model.
Oh,
come on. Let's have Sherlock Obi-Wan Clouseau solving a murder mystery.
How old is that character now?
He has only ever turned up in the first printing of Rogue Trader.
I was going to say, he's ancient. He's from the heydays.
How many years ago is that then?
1987.
Well, so my age then. Okay, great.
Yeah, right.
Wait, are you Sherlock Obi-Wan Clouseau?
I don't want to toot my own horn or anything.
But then you've got, with regards to like the whodunit stuff, you've got elements like polymorphine and whatnot. You could really introduce some twists into this.
But more important question is, what would they do for AOS with it? Instead of 40k. Get to the good stuff, AOS. We could do a Realm Hunter story of in a sense. Maybe a Jean Valjean story of a man chasing for a simple slice of bread through the realms.
Well, that kind of fits when you look at like Azir. Apparently, that place is law and order like 2000 AD. It's a Judge Dredd style situation.
Oh,
you know? Where the slightest infraction can result in you being murdered. So there's potential there. There's potential for this stuff.
I mentioned a couple of things over on the group, and I think that there are things you can do with the AOS, but it seems to be that it's going to stay entirely on this planet and doing nothing but 40k.
That's a shame.
But I mean, I really, really want to see a Zechian heist
that'd be good. Yeah.
story. That'd be fantastic. A Zeech cult, performing a heist on a like a Cornate temple or a Azerite type place, or even like a Caradron. I was going to say Caradron Casino. That's not the word.
No, I like that. I like that.
I like the idea though. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The idea is very good.
Horde of ghouls who are acting like a child thief gang. Who they see themselves as being like the Artful Dodger and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Something like that. There's a load of ideas that you can run.
Introducing Dickensian elements into an AOS story.
Oh, I am all over that.
It's a great idea. It's a great idea.
I don't know if anyone's read the Warhammer Adventures stuff. I got the first two, the Claw of the Skaven and I don't know, Skirt of the Necron or whatever. It was.
Skirt of the Necron.
I can't remember what it's called now. And the AOS one's really good.
Uh-huh. So I understand. I haven't read them, but I've heard people say they're actually really, really decent pieces of work.
They don't shy away.
Yeah.
I mean, the AOS one, it starts off with full-blown slavery.
Right, okay.
A Dark Oath tribe going around kidnapping children and families, slaving them, and then the mother of the main character basically dying of exhaustion before her eyes.
Right, okay.
They're not shying away. And there's an entire sequence where the main character, she gets to the city that her mum came from, and she's like, if I get here, everything will be okay. And it's this decrepit, tired, crappy place. And she enters depression. She enters full-blown depression because she doesn't know what to do next.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it is. They are pretty damn good. But in that has a little bit of the Dickensian to it. And it's kind of opened up this doorway of, well, why not?
Why not? Yeah, absolutely. Why not?
AOS can literally hold any type of story.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly feel, and I don't know if I want this or not, but I think you could run a comedy book in AOS.
Why not? There are comedy races in AOS, so why not? Yeah. I mean, the Gloomspite gits are funny as hell.
Yeah, actually, I haven't read the Gloomspite book. That's apparently fantastic.
They're funny as all hell. It's really silly. It's great fun. It's great fun. I mean, they're just stupid. They're just loads of fun. So why not?
Mm-hmm. It'd be interesting to see. I mean, I don't know. I've got an idea, and I'm half tempted to write it up and see what I can do with it.
Why not? I mean, I am excited. If this label is as successful as Warhammer Horror, then I'm all in. I'm all in. It's another subgenre of fiction that I really like. I really like my sort of like police procedurals and, hard-boiled detective drama and that kind of thing. So, and I kind of want to see that, I want to see the AOS or 40k equivalent of your like Raymond Chandler Private Dick character who's drunk and down and out and his wife has divorced him and he operates out of some shitty little office, and then the femme fatale turns up,
All right, let's break this down. So, sort of Private Dick. So ex-Arbites.
Yes, ex-Arbites maybe.
Yeah, and he.
Or a disgraced Inquisitor.
Oh yeah, because that's probably going to get you shot.
He could be in hiding.
He could be, yeah. False name, yeah. Being a detective on some kind of hive world. Yeah, all right. I'm with you on this one.
I'd be well into that.
Commissar on holiday.
Drunk. Drunk, that's easy enough. Yeah, there's no real change. Divorced from his wife. Wife was killed in an orc raid?
Or something.
No. Wife was killed in a orbital bombardment by his own side.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah.
All right, because the
wife
Imperial
ran away with the Eldar Corsair.
Now we're getting into the steamy romance novels, George.
Right. Well, can you imagine if they did that? If they did a Warhammer romance label?
Warhammer erotic.
They have to be written in the really like stereotypical
Mills and Boone. Yeah, definitely.
The raunchy Eldari, Drukari.
You could get away with it with certain races. The Drukari and the Eldari, you could probably get away with it. The Slaanesh.
Gene Stealer cults.
Slaanesh would be more towards the erotica side, obviously.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Did you say Gene Stealer cults?
I did.
Well,
I want to see an erotic romantic story taking place within a Gene Stealer cult.
I think you could do that. You could do that as long as you put a horror spin to it.
Yeah, you could get away with that.
True, yeah.
Because remember, like the female Magos is quite the looker.
She is, isn't she?
She is.
She's got a hella collar on her as well, so she's fashionable.
Yeah, and you also have to, I mean, on a serious note, you've got to bear in mind these guys operate in human cultures. So there are going to be pair couples and romances and whatnot going on in these cultures.
You could even do it as a stint of like maybe the story plot is a Gene Stealer cult infiltrating a Slaanesh sex cult.
Oh my god.
And then you can go into the body horror of of either like the cultist going, okay, so is this Slaanesh or is this something else I should be concerned with? Why am I
Or,
growing
you know,
another head and an extra claw hand? It could be either.
It would reach a point, of course, where if you went down the Slaneshi route, you'd be like, you know what, I'm not sure I care.
Yeah, go for it.
Brilliant. Love it. Love it.
I love the fact that somebody has to ask the question, why am I growing another head?
Right. In fact, there's a Warhammer horror story that hasn't been touched upon, the body horror stuff, like somebody giving birth to a Gene Stealer hybrid.
Oh, yeah. Oof.
That's a nasty
true.
thing, isn't it? That's a very nasty thing. Also, the Zarngor. There's a story in the Thousand Suns Codex where worlds that are sort of swathed in warp storms or where some occult ritual happens, you can get pregnant women who give birth to Zarngor babies.
Ooh.
Yeah, not nice, eh?
Did they give birth to an egg?
That would be funny. That would be funny.
Hang on, something's wrong with my baby.
Yeah, something's very wrong there. Why isn't it crying? Well...
it's an egg.
Father
Here's
comes
the
into
good
the room.
news.
Looks like meat's back on the menu, boys.
Right. Here's the good news. We don't have to water out for breakfast.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be a big egg.
It'd be a big-ass egg, that one. Yeah.
Please don't call it a big ass egg at this point.
But yeah, I mean... yeah. That, again, going down the Slaneshi route, it just happens, doesn't it? It just happens.
Oh, God.
But, you know...
And we wondered how they could do a comedy book.
Right.
Oh, I want to see a comedy book that starts with somebody giving birth to an egg. That's...
To the moon, Alice, to the moon.
But the next sequence, like that bit from Jurassic Park, where they're all just standing around it. Come on now.
You bred
Zangor comes out.
As it vomits of blood as it comes out the egg.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Oh,
but yeah, Warhammer Crime.
What were we talking about?
Warhammer Crime. I think we were talking about Warhammer Crime, but it looks good. It looks good.
Yeah.
You know, I'm up for it. I wish it wasn't set on one planet.
Yeah,
same here. But I mean, the Bloodline sounds like it's going to be quite an interesting one. The Enforcer seeking the missing scion of a wealthy family.
Yep.
And the one that gets my interest a lot more, Dredge Runners, which is an Ogrin and a Ratling caught between Enforcers of the Law. I'm really into that because you don't get much Ogrins and Ratlings in stories, so I'm all over that.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting.
And then you've got Flesh and Steel, which I'm sure is a name they've used before for a book in the past.
It's quite generic, isn't it, that one?
Yeah. Probator Simeon Noctis. Really?
What?
Simeon Noctis.
Right.
Are we going to get the mecha orangutans? Is that what that story's going to be about?
The Jokero.
The Jokero, yeah.
Oh, there we go. There's the crime story I want to see. A Jokero on the run from his life.
Oh my God. You know what? You could Edgar Allan Poe this shit.
Oh, yeah.
You could go for the Murders of the Rue Morgue. A Jokero did it. A trained Jokero did it.
How about instead of the femme fatale, it's a Jokero comes into the room.
Brilliant. I love it.
So you got Flesh and Steel and No Good Men. And I do have to point out, I really like the cover for No Good Men. I think purely because it's the most un-40k looking cover I've ever seen.
Isn't it? It's very minimalist, which is not a 40k thing, you know?
No.
It's not really a design imperative for 40k, is it? Minimalism.
Only for the limited edition books, they kind of go for the minimalist approach.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It looks good. I've got to say, it looks really enticing. It's attractive.
I'm definitely looking forward to picking some of these up. Because at the end of the day, I like reading, and reading is something I enjoy doing. And if it's reading about 40k... it's like Jackson from Sanctuary Extremers kept saying, there is more stuff out there than you can ever really deal with in your lifetime.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. Absolutely true. As a friend of mine from the writing community who I've gotten into the 40k novels, and they're just sort of wading through at the moment, and they keep coming to me saying, what do I read next? And it's like, that is the question. That is the question.
Yeah, it's even harder with books versus audiobooks because the amount of... How many books does one man own if he owns all of the books that Black Library have done?
hundreds.
One of the ways, I mean, one of the only ways I found of doing it is paring it down by author.
Yeah.
Because inevitably, you know, it's a big stable of writers, so there's going to be ones you like and ones you don't. So, you know, for my peculiar taste, it's people like Aaron Dembski Bowden, Graham McNeil, it's Chris Wright, it's Nick Kime, that stable.
Guy
Haley, yeah, that stable of writers.
I also really like Darius Hinks. I think Darius has done some really good stuff.
Yeah, there's some good ones. There are some really, really, really good ones, actually. There's some that are not as consistent, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, it depends on what you like, though, doesn't it? You know, it's ultimately subjective. You may, you may enjoy one writer's style above and beyond another's. So, it depends on what you like. I mean, universally, I would say the Aaron Dembski Bowden books are just really damn good.
Yeah, I'd agree there.
John French is amazing. Josh Reynolds, I can't believe I forgot Josh Reynolds. He's fantastic.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
absolutely fantastic. You know.
He's been constantly knocking out the park the last few years.
Just brilliant, like across the board. If it's Josh Reynolds writing it, it's going to be good.
Absolutely, and it always makes me happy to see that whenever a Josh Reynolds book comes out, because you know you're going to get something good that's also got a slightly off-kilter approach to it.
Yeah, it's going to be slightly weird and slightly beyond what you expect it to be, which is cool.
Do we have anything else to discuss?
There's
we've got one more thing.
The action figures.
Yeah, should we get into those?
Should we talk about the action figures?
Thanks to young Mr. Millman here, who has thrown these to our attention. The pre-orders are up for the McFarlane action figures, and they look all right.
They look pretty good, you know. I mean, it's a nice way of introducing other people to like the aesthetic and the universe, isn't it? You know.
Yeah. That's I'm tempted by the Necron.
They're all right. I mean, they're not my. I probably wouldn't bother with them myself. They're not my kind of thing. But I think it's really cool that people are going to see these on shelves in toy stores and whatnot and think, you know.
It kind of shows GW moving into a new form of company, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. A bit more expansive and a bit more inclusive.
It feels like the first steps
nice.
that they kind of took all those years ago when they first put out the very first video game and kind of started getting the ball rolling there. It's just like finally they've kind of taken another step forward.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's nice to see, I've got to say, it's really nice to see the fact that you could like potentially go into, you know, your local toy store and see stuff on the shelf there. It's fun. It's fun. I want to see more of the actual...
I mean, you won't see anything on your local toy shop shelves because toy shops don't have anything on the shelves.
That's absolutely true. That is absolutely true.
It's one of the reasons to stop buying toys.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, the UK's distribution is pretty bad for the most part.
I would have been surprised if he saw these in UK toy stores anyway for, you know, however few there are, just because McFarlane seems to go, at least here, more to the comic side of things. In America, they'll be in Walmarts and Targets, I'm sure, easily, but just how McFarlane do their work, like I'm not sure if I like the Spawn from the Mortal Kombat game or not. I'm still kind of iffy about it, but I've no doubt that if I want it, it's going to have to be online only.
It's going to have to be ordered, yeah. I mean, of all the companies, like the toy companies they could go with, McFarlane Toys is the best one to go with for this kind of aesthetic, to be honest.
Nowadays,
they do, you know, they do this kind of thing, you know, that kind of grim dark. I mean, I always remember like remember the old Tortured Souls line?
Oh, yes.
The Clive Barker Cenobite style things. Friggin' love them.
Was that still in the era where they decided, okay, we're going to do statues rather than figures? Because there was that transition period from the first kind of Spawn wave for a few doing actual posable things to then going, they have cuts that just ruin the look of the figure. So were the things you were talking about in that era, or were they still action figures?
They were technically action figures, you know, they had posability and bits and pieces you could like take off and mess about with and whatnot. Yeah, they were technically action figures, but they were display pieces ultimately. They're so grim. Oh my god.
I think I remember seeing them in like magazines and catalogs rather than picking
They're
them up
good.
myself.
I mean, they're good fun. There's a like a novella Barker wrote to sort of give them a background called Tales of Primordium, which is really good. It's actually really, really good. But it's that kind of aesthetic that works quite well in conjunction with the 40k universe.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the sort of hyper-detailed, grim, dark thing.
And I think the big thing to remind yourself here is that this isn't going to be the thing that happens constantly. You know, this is going to be every now and again a new one of these will turn.
Sort of like a one-off.
Yeah, and until they bring out the orcs, I'm probably not going to buy it. But I have wanted an orc action figure for many, many years. And the moment I get an actual orc action figure, I will be a very happy man.
I just want to cut that statement off at when I get an actual orc, I'll be a very happy man.
Have I ever told you the story of how I almost got a Warcraft, a 6-foot Warcraft orc?
What, a real one?
Well, a fiberglass one.
Right, oh, that's not nearly as interesting.
It was being auctioned at one point, and nobody seemed to be paying attention to the auction.
Oh.
And so I put in like 300 quid to see if I could get it. And I sat there for 2 days, and then it jumped up to like £4,000.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oof. Ouch.
And you weren't willing to go that high?
Yeah, right.
Surprisingly enough, no.
If it were a real orc, I'd have gone that high.
A real Warcraft orc, though?
They're more pleasant to chat with than your 40k orc.
I was going to say, a 40k orc, I imagine, would be difficult to ship. And to package, you know? And to feed.
I can't imagine a 40k orc would get on well with either of your pets.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. Rufus would kill it.
Yeah, absolutely. Orc versus cat, we know who's going to win.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Rufus would definitely kill it. So, yeah, there's that. Safety first, obviously. You know, got to think of the orc, you know?
Yeah.
Do you remember an orc is for life, not just for warg time?
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And what are you going to do with it when it's not warg time? You know, they tend to get a bit stressed out, don't they?
You have to get them neutered or something to stop that from happening.
I don't know how you neuter an orc, the fungus.
I was going to say, they don't, insofar as I'm aware, they don't sort of reproduce in that way.
No.
Who knows, you know, who knows?
Whatever the equivalent of neutering an orc's gland
what would it be? Love it.
This has been a very strange episode.
It has been a
very,
very, very odd episode with some of the slightly weirder tangents this time.
It's so much fun. Right, so then we'll start drawing this to a close. Andy, is there anything that you would like to tell all of the lovely people at home?
If you want to follow me, you can follow me on Moonbase 2 podcast. We talk about Transformers and other things with me and my buddy Little Mikey. He's not called Little Mikey, but he's smaller than me, so he's Little Mikey.
He's been called Little Mikey from this point forward.
Little Mikey.
Little Mikey.
I'm going to call him Petite M.
All right, fair enough.
And you can also find me on YouTube as Cobra Commander TFW, and that's all I'll do. That's Moonbase 2 for the most part. You can slap that into Google, you'll probably find me.
And George!
Same as usual, guys. You can find me knocking about the Exaggerated Elegy channel, where you'll find all sorts of stuff, let's plays, podcasts, all sorts of things. You can find my fiction over at strangeplaygrounds.com. A couple of short story... there's a few short story collections out at the moment, the latest of which is Born in Blood Volume 1, Volume 2 coming soon. And you can also, if you want to chat directly, you can find me over at Twitter on Enigmatic Elegy.
Excellent stuff. As for me, at the moment, I'm just doing the Fluffenhammer because, my God, I'm tired.
Yeah.
So at the moment, the Fluffenhammer has, on a Monday, Uncle Nurgling appears to run you through some bizarre old hammer and chaos-formed miniatures. On a Wednesday, it's the Instagram Roundup, where we find the best things from Instagram for that week and display them for your pleasure. And on a Friday, we normally have the Humble Archive Troll, who is bringing something from the past out for your amusement. The last thing that we had from the Humble Archive Troll was all the cutscenes from the old Dark Omen game, up-resed to as close to HD as I could get them.
Brilliant. God, was that Black Omen or Dark Omen?
Dark Omen.
Yeah.
Did I call it Black Omen?
No. I'm thinking of Black Omen because that's a thing from Chrono Trigger.
Oh, right,
Same
right.
with Chrono Trigger. But yeah,
Oh,
interesting.
and of course, George's videos are going up there as well.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah, I'm just doing bits and pieces. I do like fiction reviews. I just started doing a video series where I talk about the stuff like the entities, the creatures that I really like.
Yeah.
From the background, we've done Homunculi, Covens, and Zarngor thus far.
And also, oh yeah, and of course we've got the Hard Knocks Behind the Blood Bowl series just about to start. As presented by Rundy Savage Son.
Okie dokes.
And yeah, I'm just waiting for some artwork to be delivered before that starts. That's the stupidest idea I've ever had in my life, and I love it. What else do we have going on the site at the moment? Oh yeah, and of course at the moment on the group we've got the Fluffenhammer Fiction Challenge,
yes,
which is a 2,000 word challenge to write a short story, which will be all compiled once they're done, and that should be quite a fun one.
Brilliant.
And then I think next month I'm going to try to do a Twitter short story challenge and a Facebook short story challenge where everybody gets to write 2 sentences.
Brilliant fun. Yeah, that sounds good.
So yeah, it's just lots of community fun going on. But there's tons of stuff going on in the group and the Instagram and whatnot. So yeah,
it's a fun group, by the way, guys.
Come and join us.
It's a fun group. If if you're a little tired of some of the pedantry that happens to go on in some of the other 40k groups, come to the Fluffenhammer. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, the Fluffenhammer, where in the Fluff Millennium there is only decency.
Absolutely. Can I just give a shout out to our pal Kirioth as well?
Yes, definitely.
Because Kirioth, there's been a little bit of stuff going on, but his channel is really, really good. He does some really interesting, earnest videos. He's often very well considered. He gets a lot right. He predicts a lot, based on tiny little clues. He predicts a lot that's actually really, really right, which I like. He's a lot of good fun. Love Kirioth.
Absolutely, the man's his channel is constantly entertaining.
Yep.
Yeah, he's got a good way with the words.
Yeah, and he's very informative as well.
Yeah, very much so. So, with all that being said, we shall get out of here and let you get back to your normal everyday lives. Thank you very much to Andy for joining us again.
Thank you for bringing me back.
Always a pleasure.
We never let you out.
Yeah, right.
The chains are chafing.
Get back in your box, Inspector Sherlock Clouseau, Obi-Wan. Get back in your shoebox. I don't know why a shoebox. You're a very tall man.
But it's got to be a shoebox.
It's got to be a shoebox.
It's a non-Euclidean shoebox, so the interior dimensions are bigger than the outer dimensions.
It's weird. The interior is actually smaller than the outside,
right,
but
okay.
Still get him in there. And obviously, thank you, George, for joining us again.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
And thank you to you guys at home for listening.
Always.
You take care, y'all. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.